Hey, it's the internet. How you doing? One of the most common questions I get is, how does this work? You're running freshwater tanks, freshwater planted aquariums with sumps underneath them. Today's a quick little video to give you guys an idea of how the overflow works, how the water comes from the tank down into the sump and gets back into the tank. Now I've made a couple of things here to illustrate what's going on back behind here, back behind the overflow. Back behind the overflow there, basically we set the water level on the aquarium and it flows over and goes down in there. What happens once we're behind there, I'll show you. Ha-ha! You guys, I made a little mock-up of what happens behind door number one. Okay, so think of this as the bottom plate of the overflow back behind there that you don't normally get to see because it's black, you know, acrylic and you can't see through it. So there's 3 bulkheads down there, of which, of course, I don't have a loose one. Oh, I do. Hold on, let me grab a loose one. Now, there's 3 bulkheads down there. Here's one in the slippery plastic, which of course I probably should have taken it out of the slippery plastic, right? Okay. Now these bulkheads are almost impossible to find at your local store. So I order them in bulk off of Amazon. I'll post a link down there in case you're having trouble finding these. These happen to be the 1-inch variety. They come all the way up to, I think the biggest I've ever seen is like a 4-inch one, which I don't really know what you would do with a 4-inch bulkhead like that, but needless to say, they're all on there, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, blah, 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 all the way. Pretty simple little design here. There's actually just a washer, or a nut that goes on here, a gasket, and obviously water goes right through the hole. It mounts inside the hole and the plastic, or the acrylic that's down there. And okay, so the first one here, right, obviously I've got it loosely in there, actually has an adapter in it because we dropped it down from 1 inch down to 3/4 inch, and has some of this Spaflex, which is a, you know, PVC piping that's basically made for spas, hot tubs, you know. It goes right in there, comes up to another bulkhead up at the top, and returns into the aquarium. So essentially the pump is going to flow into here, come up and out there. Now that top bulkhead is going to have this piece on it, which actually is called lock line. Now this lock line is super expensive, so if you do go shopping for it online, sticker shock is definitely going to be a deal. This one actually happens to have a Y on it, right? But it's not necessary to have the Y. Oh, whoops, the dehumidifier turned on. Hold on a second. This piece actually has a Y on it. Not necessary, but I like to have the 2 options to be able to get return water coming up and kind of move things around. It's a great thing about lock line is that it's actually these snap pieces that go together, and you're able to move it around in whatever direction that you want it to go. And it comes in this cool black plastic, you know, black plastic color, and lasts a really long time. I've seen these, you know, years and years in even saltwater tanks, and really no problem. I think this one was actually scavenged off of a saltwater tank because I do have some little bit of calcium buildup on there. Not a big deal in a freshwater; it'll be gone in no time. A lot of confusion resides within these standpipes right here. This one right here will be where water is going to go down and return into the sump on a regular basis. It's going to have a little adapter on it like this, and it's going to have a little mesh screen on it like this. It's actually a 1-inch pipe that is plenty big for even a 120-gallon aquarium siphon. So this will be a steady siphon at all times. So if you think about when you take water out of your tank, going into the hose, it'll be just like that constantly. Now, how do I adjust that flow from that siphon coming down there if it is coming too fast? As you know, a 1-inch pipe is going to move quite a bit of water under siphon. Huzzah! What we have here is an ABS Schedule 80, which is why it's gray instead of white. It will be a Schedule 80 gate valve. Now, a gate valve is really interesting. One of the reasons it's really interesting, as you can see, it slowly closes as we do this. Now, gate valves are useful for adjusting flow that's not under pressure. I mean, you could have something that's lightly under pressure, but you realistically don't want to install one of these on a real intense pressure pipe. For that, you'd want to use like a ball valve or whatnot, but or you'd want to get a big metal one if you really wanted to do that. So just bear in mind that if you think, oh, I'm going to put this on something that's a plastic pipe that is under pressure, just remember, don't do that. It's not a great idea. Go copper if you're going to be doing something big like that. But this isn't really going to be under pressure. It's only going to be a little bit of siphon water going through it, and we want to adjust the speed of the siphon. Now that's the cool thing about this gate valve. Now you wonder why these two pieces are on here. They're actually screwed in to the threaded connection to the gate valve. The reason for that, these only cost about 80 cents each. The gate valve itself costs like 22 bucks. So that's just preventative money spent later on. Like, I'm just stopping myself from having to buy more gate valves in the future. If in case I have to move this whole system or something like that, I can just cut the PVC on either end and just unscrew these pieces and probably discard them or maybe find some weird use for them, I'm not sure. Remember that if you are going to go with that, use some really good Teflon tape. This happens to be the yellow kind for gas. That doesn't really matter that much. It's basically just going to create the seal in between the threads. Now, what's this third pipe for? Okay, so this third pipe right here, as you can see, is set to the level basically not very shy of the top of the aquarium, and the reason for that is we've got this screen on here, right? And even if we didn't have this screen on here, we'd still want this third emergency pipe. That's what this pipe's for. It's only really for emergencies. If we get detritus and things like that coming and fill up this screen for some reason, the water level is going to go higher and higher and higher and higher, right? This will allow that excess water to go down and not end up all over the floor. So the return, this is coming up from the sump, this is the overflow, and this is the emergency. It's pretty important to put them together this way because you're not going to access the emergency very often, but it is kind of difficult to get this out because of how high and close up to the top it is. And this one, you always want the overflow to be right in the middle so it's accessible. You can take this screen out, clean it if you need to or anything like that, and it not be a huge ordeal, right? So that hopefully walks you through that portion. Let's go down to the sump and we can talk about what's going on down there. Now, as we talked about before, this gate valve is actually going to get installed right here. That's where it's going to go. I haven't put it in yet. Well, mainly just because I haven't. Not really any kind of reason. But you can see what's going on down here as far as this one right here is going to have the gate valve. So that's going to be our siphon that comes down, actually going to the back, one of the two bulkheads down here. This extra line right here, that's actually, this is spot flex, and the reason for that, we don't want any kinks or turns, even though we have a 90 degree up there, we don't want any kinks and turns in the actual emergency overflow because we don't want anything that's going to restrict the flow of the emergency just in case. Now the siphon's not that big of a deal because we're going to set the speed on that, so it's not going to be that big of a deal that there are 90 degree turns in it. That's not going to be a huge issue. You'll notice that up here and the bulkheads coming down that there are threaded adapters in those also. One of the big reasons is the same reason as before, just to save money if I have to ever move this system or anything like that. the return pump right here, one of the reasons that I utilize these return pumps, it's a DC controller return pump that is actually controllable, so I can actually control the speed of the pump that's coming from down below to return to the top of the tank. You'll notice that the water down here does look a little bit dirty. And the reason for that, I actually have catappa leaves in here because in a later video, I'm going to show you guys the filtration, how I'm going to set up the filter pads, the biological media, all that kind of stuff, the CO2, and how I'm going to set up the flow. I have this water basically tinted to show you guys how I'm going to set up the flow coming into the main display part of the tank, and it will help, you know, illustrate that. And I do want the added benefit of the catappa leaves. So hopefully that explains a lot of how this little system goes, how the overflow and everything is plumbed. If you do have questions, throw them down below, let me know. And like I said, stay tuned because, whoa, this tank is about to get planted, and we're actually also going to be talking about the filtration and all that stuff and how to set up the flow coming up in the future, right?